You are sitting in a room full of people, people who know your name, people who would say they care about you. There is conversation happening, laughter, the kind of easy social noise that is supposed to feel like belonging. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, a feeling arrives that makes absolutely no logical sense. Loneliness. Quiet, heavy, completely out of place. Loneliness. In a room where you are surrounded by people. And you look around and nobody else seems to be feeling it. Everyone else appears to be simply and easily present. So you perform presence too. You laugh at the right moments. You contribute to the conversation appropriately. And the whole time something in you is sitting slightly apart from all of it. Watching, waiting, not quite there. Or it happens with someone you have known for years, someone who knows your history and your habits and your face. And you are talking to them, really talking, and still feeling like the most important parts of you are not in the room. Like there is a version of you that nobody in your life has ever actually met, and maybe never will. If that experience lives somewhere familiar inside you, this video is for you specifically and completely. Today we are talking about why some people feel utterly alone even when surrounded by people who love them, and why this is one of the most painful and least understood forms of loneliness that exists in human experience. Let's start by making a distinction that most people have never had clearly explained to them before. There are two completely different kinds of loneliness, and they feel similar, but they come from different places entirely. The first kind is situational loneliness. You are physically alone. You have few or no people around you. This kind is painful, but it is legible. The cause is visible, and the solution, connection with others, is relatively clear. The second kind is relational loneliness, and this is the one almost nobody talks about because it is harder to explain. Relational loneliness is not about the absence of people, it is about the absence of genuine felt connection with them. You can have a full life, full calendar, full contact list, and still feel this loneliness at the center of everything. Because what produces the feeling is not how many people are around you, it is how deeply they actually know you. And for many people, the answer to that question, honestly examined, is that nobody really does, not fully, not yet. Psychologists have a term for this. They call it the invisible self, the parts of a person that never get shared. Not because those parts are shameful or strange, but because somewhere along the way sharing them felt too risky, too vulnerable, too likely to be misunderstood, too much to ask of people who might not be able to hold it properly. So those parts stay hidden, and the person presents a curated and manageable version of themselves to the world. And the world responds to that curated version, connects with it, likes it, even loves it in some cases. But the connection never quite reaches the place where the loneliness actually lives, because that place is still hidden. And so the loneliness persists, not despite the relationships around them, partially because of the way those relationships work. Now let's talk about where this pattern of hiding the self comes from, because it always has a specific origin. For most people, it begins with an experience of being seen, and then having that visibility used against them somehow. They shared something real, something vulnerable, something that required trust to say out loud to another person. And the response they received taught them something that has shaped every relationship since that moment. Maybe they were laughed at, dismissed, made to feel dramatic or strange or too much for what they brought. Maybe the person they told used the information carelessly, without understanding what it cost to share it. Maybe nothing cruel happened. Maybe the person just didn't quite get it, and the not getting it was enough. And the person who shared learned the lesson. The real me is not safe to bring into relationships. Keep it back. Psychologists call this self-concealment, the active process of keeping personally significant information hidden from others. And research on self-concealment shows it is directly and consistently linked to loneliness, anxiety, and depression. Not because hiding is weakness, but because hiding is incompatible with the connection the brain genuinely needs. Human beings are wired for what researchers call felt understanding. The experience of being known and accepted as you are, not the curated version, not the managed presentation, the actual self with its contradictions and uncertainties intact. And when that felt understanding is absent, the brain registers something is missing, regardless of who is present. It is the difference between being in a room and being in a room as yourself. The body knows the difference always. Let's talk about the specific ways relational loneliness shows up inside relationships that appear fine from the outside. The first sign is surface-level conversations that never quite go anywhere deeper, no matter how long you have known someone. You talk about everything except the things that actually matter to you, and the pattern never seems to break. Not because the other person doesn't care, but because neither of you has ever quite broken through to the real layer. The second sign is the exhaustion that follows social interaction, even with people you genuinely like being around. Not introvert exhaustion from stimulation. A different kind. The exhaustion of performing rather than being present, of managing how you come across, of choosing carefully what to say and what to leave unsaid in every exchange, of being liked by people who do not entirely know you, and understanding the like is therefore somewhat incomplete. The third sign is the specific longing that arrives during moments of collective joy, celebrations, milestones, good news. Everyone around you is happy, and you are happy too, but also inexplicably sad at the same time, underneath the happy. Because joyful moments make the distance more visible. In the midst of togetherness, the aloneness becomes most clear. Now let's talk about something that makes relational loneliness particularly difficult to address and move through. Most people who carry it do not identify it as loneliness, because they have people, so loneliness seems like the wrong word. They identify it as something being wrong with them, as proof that they are somehow fundamentally difficult to truly know, or as evidence that deep connection is simply not something they are built to have, that others have it but not them. And that interpretation makes them hide further, which produces more relational loneliness, which confirms the interpretation. It is one of the most effectively self-sealing cycles in all of human psychology. Hiding produces the evidence that justifies hiding. Let's talk about what research shows about the people who genuinely break out of this cycle over time. They almost never do it by finding the perfect person who magically draws them out without any effort required. They do it by making one small and terrifying decision to bring slightly more of themselves into one relationship. Not everything at once, not the deepest, most vulnerable thing immediately, just something slightly more real than usual, a feeling expressed instead of managed, an honest answer given instead of a comfortable deflection offered, an admission of something uncertain or difficult instead of the performance of someone who has it together always, and then watching carefully what happens, giving the other person the chance to meet that small piece of honesty. Many times they do, more often than the person hiding expected, because people are generally more capable than we credit, and when they do, something shifts. A tiny but real piece of felt understanding arrives where there was distance before, and the brain, which has been registering missing connection for so long, feels something click back into place slightly. Not fixed, not healed, but shifted. One small piece of the invisible self made slightly more visible and survived, and each time that happens, the risk of the next small disclosure feels fractionally more survivable than it did before. This is how relational loneliness actually heals, not in one dramatic moment of radical vulnerability and instant relief, but in the accumulation of small moments where being real was risked and the world did not end because of it, where someone stayed after seeing something true, where a relationship deepened because honesty was brought into it, where the invisible self became slightly less invisible and the loneliness that lived there became slightly less heavy. The people in your life right now may not know you fully, but that does not mean they are incapable of it. It may simply mean you have not yet brought the parts of yourself that would allow them the chance to try. The loneliness you feel in a full room is not proof that you are unknowable. It is proof that you have not yet been fully known. And those are not the same thing, not even close. Subscribe if this finally explained a feeling you have been carrying without the right words for it.